Hello, family members. Hope you're having a nice day today. I just finished watching the new philosophy video, which is excellent, and I'll be a link of it to it in the description. If you haven't watched it yet, I would definitely recommend going and watching it, especially before watching my response to it. But I mean, you do you. You know, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. Um, but one of the concepts that she talks about is the concept of people who are grievable and then the ungrievable, or the mournable or unmournable. I can't remember exactly the phrasing, but you know, the key thing is that there's certain classes of people that it's okay for us not to grieve, right? Or society tries to say that it's okay for us not to grieve in order for society to ignore the things it needs to ignore, et cetera, et cetera. And while she was talking, I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of something that I talked about before. Um, there's an old video on this channel uh, saying like something like cancer survivor wonders why people don't care if I die or something. It's like really dramatic. But basically, it was talking about the same thing. You know, it was during COVID. There was a lot of rhetoric about how only people with pre-existing conditions died of COVID, which, number one, not true. But even if that was true, it's like, why is that an argument? Like, at all? You mean that people who are already vulnerable to other health problems are especially vulnerable to this virus, and so we shouldn't try to keep it from becoming endemic and spreading everywhere? You know, we shouldn't protect the vulnerable people in our society? I don't know the name of her, but there's I think it was an archaeologist or some sort of academic who, when asked about what was the earliest signs of civilization that we had found in you know, all of archaeology, and what she cited was a human skeleton that had been found, the remains of a human who had healed broken bones. And she said, you know, this is a sign that we were civilized enough at this point in our evolution to be able to take care of each other instead of just, you know, doing a, you know, survival of the fittest. You're on your own if you're hurt. We actually engaged in actively taking care of our vulnerable, and that to her was the earliest sign of civilization that we have. And to me, that's very powerful, because I definitely feel like people like me, people with chronic illnesses, people who have compromised immune system because we survived cancer, who have disabilities, when we die, it's just like, okay, well, you know, what did you expect? You know, they were sick. I feel like when I die, you know, my immediate family will be very upset. My friends, close friends, will be very upset. But for the most part, you know, nobody's going to notice. And if I die because of this illness, it really is because of Republican healthcare policy. It really is because there isn't good, accessible healthcare in this country, that we pay more for lesser care. And because there isn't a social safety net to help me take care of myself, I am unable to take care of myself, you know? And I feel like I don't care some days if I'm alive or not, you know? And that's a scary thing to feel, you know? When you're a woman who has any sort of presence on the internet, you do have to consider whether or not, you know, it's worth risking your safety. By bringing attention to yourself, you may draw attention from the wrong type of person. Now, I think it would be very hard for someone to like break into my house because the dogs would probably scare them off. That Kimmy is probably genuinely very scary. If you come in my house with bad intent, I don't know that she wouldn't harm you. So I've never trained her to be like that, but she is very wary of strangers and extremely protective of me and extremely protective of the property. So, you know, I have that. And of course, Casey isn't nearly as scary, but he sounds, you know, scary. You sound these big woof, woof, woof when you come to the door. I think that most people with ill intentions aren't want to deal with that, you know. And if they're that determined to go through the dogs, there's probably nothing I could do anyway, so who cares, right? But that's such a weird thing, you know, to have, oh, well, you know, if it happens, it happens. If somebody becomes obsessed with me online and decides to dox and then harm me, oh, well. And I don't know, maybe in my head, I've made myself ungrievable. Maybe that's part of it, you know? Like, I have to just be like, well, this is the way society is, thought terminating cliche. I can't get assistance. I'm unable to advocate for myself to get the assistance I need. Nobody's, you know, got the wherewithal to step in and assist me in this regard. That's the other thing, being aromantic. I also think that's something that makes you a little bit ungrievable in a way. You don't have a spouse, you don't have biological children, you know. So, you know, it's not that big a deal if you die, right? I have a friend who is, I don't know, maybe 5-10 years older than me. I have no idea. I've never actually asked him his age, and I don't really care. But just like from what little I know about his past, it's, you know, it seems like he grew up 5 to 10 years before I did, you know, like his cultural touchstones. And he's been single for quite some time. And he had to put down an emergency contact, and he had posted about this on his social media. Like, what are you supposed to do if you don't have a partner? You don't have someone to be your emergency contact. You know, he doesn't have local family like me, doesn't have a partner like me. And so he ended up like making up, he like put some random character's name and then like generated a number on Google or something. Like, he just faked it because society doesn't have a good answer for people like me and like him. We don't have that obvious next of kin kind of thing going, and so we just fall through the cracks. There's nothing. I think the family's back. I probably ought to wrap this up. But you know, it really did make me think about what my place in society is and whether or not that's okay. And maybe it's not. So I got to put more thought on this, I think. Take care of yourselves. I hope you could hear even a little bit of the end of this. Bye.